Hello, everybody, and welcome to this quarterly meeting of the Residents Association. My name is Boyd Taylor. I'm the president of the Residents Association. I've missed seeing you. How are you? And since we can't have the quarterly meeting that we're supposed to have, we're doing it this way as a way of reporting to you. It's part of the Westminster bylaws that the president at the quarterly meeting has to tell a joke. And so I have one for you. It's not exactly a joke, but it's true. A gentleman named Art Flynn passed away, I'm sorry to say, last week, and his obituary was in the Austin paper. And at the bottom of the obituary, this appeared: "He will be missed by all who knew him." The family wanted burial and wanted the head coaches and the defensive and offensive coordinators of the Dallas Cowboys and the UT Longhorns to serve as pallbearers so they could let him down one more time. But the family decided on cremation. So, well, I've got a really appreciative audience here. That's good to hear. So I wanted to let you know that the Residents Association is still here and still functioning. Our activities, as many as we can, are still going on. For example, the library is open, and Helen Spear, our librarian, and her committee members are doing a wonderful job. Building and Grounds Committee with Cynthia Leach as chair has had Zoom meetings to meet with Westminster staff and talk about building and ground issues. Bobby Collins chairs the food committee, and they've had a couple of Zoom meetings to meet with food and beverage staff. Pat Wright has put out the banner religiously every month. There's a new one today, which I thought was a good one. And the Writer's Journal has been proceeding according to schedule. So those activities and many others are still going on. And the Welcoming Committee has been working hard to make new residents who are moving into Westminster during this period when we can't welcome them in person feel welcome here. So we'll be hearing more about that in a minute. I know these are stressful times, and we're doing well here, I think, but please remember to be kind to our Westminster associates, and regardless of your own convictions, try to be respectful of all those around us. I think, as I say, we're doing a good job here at Westminster. So now it's my pleasure to welcome back our treasurer, Mary Bowles, who has a treasurer's report for you. Mary, it's yours.
Thank you. It's again my great pleasure to recite the numbers involved in the activities of the Residents Association covering the period April 1 to June 30. You'd be thrilled to know our income was $512 from Hidden Treasures, which was a special gift. Expenses, $587 for periodicals for the good old Austin American Statesman, $322 for our should I say, Pat Wright's wonderful banner, $550, which is the cost of QuickBooks for the Residents Association, and Friendship Fund grants, $360. Total, $1,819, bank balance, June 30, $10,362. Isn't that all wonderful? We are indeed thrilled to know that Writer's Journal sales are splendidly $1,475. This net of sales tax payable, $112.41, equals $1,363. This will be kept in a separate account for future use. CDs remain at $37,500, and this generates great interest with the next interest payment due in August. Now that's a very short report, and I don't want you to feel neglected. So I have an item that we are all concerned about, and that are the squirrels, which are a great nuisance and cost to keep under control. There are a number of ways of control which we need to consider. Um, am I still on?
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Didn't attack you or anything. You're
This,
on.
here we go. This is the squirrel problem. The Presbyterian Church called a meeting to decide what to do about their squirrels. After much prayer and consideration, they concluded the squirrels were predestined to be there and they shouldn't interfere with God's divine will. The Catholic Church came up with a very creative strategy. They baptized all the squirrels and consecrated them as members of the church. Now they only see them on Christmas and Easter. At the Baptist church, the squirrel had taken an interest in the baptistry. The deacons met and decided to put a water slide on the baptistry and let the squirrels drown themselves. The squirrels liked the slide, and unfortunately, they knew instinctively how to swim, so twice as many squirrels showed up the following week. The Methodist Church decided that they were not in a position to harm any of God's creatures, so they humanely trapped their squirrels and set them free near the Baptist church. 2 weeks later, the squirrels were back when the Baptists took down the water slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary. Welcome back. So at this time, I'd like to call on Roger and Judy Iverson, who are co-chairs of the Welcoming Committee, to speak regarding our new residents here at Westminster. Roger, Judy?
Thank you very much, Boyd. We have been very active and have had a number of people moving in to Westminster, which we really appreciate. It's a difficult time to come to move in to Westminster, because normally we would have a huge reception and introduce you to everybody, and that will still be in your future, but not at the moment because of the virus. And we also arranged some dinner parties for you to meet more informally with a number of people and come to know them, and that's not possible because of the virus either. So what we've done is my wife, Judy, has personally written notes to each one of you to express for all of us that we're really glad you're here, and we do hope to meet you and come to know you. And so keep wearing your badge with the newcomer's sign on it, and when we run into you, we'll probably introduce ourselves, and at least that way we'll begin to come to know each other. But this will all be passed eventually, and we'll get back to normal. But in the meantime, since some of you are watching this who may not know all this, Judy's going to read the list of all the people that have moved in or in process of moving in, and we want to make them feel welcome.
Hi. I can't get over that every single one of these people moving in are going into the Preston. I'd kind of like to know what the secret is that everybody wants to be in the Preston. That must be the place to live right now. We have Alexander Crane, who has moved in, Jim and Helen Pierce, Marjorie Wu Mobley, Florence Bowman, Barbara Miller has moved in, Gail Ross, Ernest and Judith Lundelsky, Joe and Mary Willman, and Earl McBride. And today we've received some very good news about Jerry and Sue Wilson. They are moving into their new apartment bit by bit in the next 2 weeks. So that comes to a grand total of 13 since we closed down. So we're really happy that they're going to be coming in. We're looking forward to it. I know it must seem to you that have moved in like it's a ghost town, but believe me, when we're in full swing, we have happy residents going everywhere, doing everything. So your time will come and we're going to be happy to see you out and about eventually. Okay, that's it.
Well, thank you very much, Judy and Roger, and we appreciate the work you're doing. And so residents, when you see the welcoming, the new resident or newcomer tag on somebody you pass in the hall. They may be wearing a mask and you may not recognize them the next time you see them, but welcome them aboard when you do see that. Thank you again. The treasurer, Mary Bowles, mentioned that the Writers Journal's spring edition generated so far $1,400 in sales, and more have been sold. There's enough revenue from the sale of the spring edition to allow us to print a fall edition, and so we're now in the process of starting that work. And Carol Sykes, who's a member of the Writers Journal editorial board, is going to say a few words about the fall edition. Carol.
Yes, can you hear me and see me?
Absolutely.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So greetings to all of you who are tuning in, and I hope you're resting and reading and writing, because we are very eager to have you be in this next fall issue. So I'm here to not only tell you about it, but also to encourage you to get your pencil if you don't type, and if you need some help, we have someone who can help you. Her name is Lori Humphreys. But at any rate, let me tell you the categories. They will be the same as last year. There's poetry, fiction, nonfiction, and memoirs. Now, somebody asked, well, what in the world is nonfiction? It could be like essays or really anything that doesn't fit in the other three categories. And if you will send your manuscripts to Boyd Taylor, btaylor42 at austin.rr.com, or you can drop it in his box or in Lori Humphrey's box near the mailroom. Boyd is in Windsor and Lori is in Preston, and we will get it. Boyd, I think you probably would be delighted if they would all come over the internet, maybe Gmail, but at any rate, however they come, we'll be delighted. And I know every single one of you out there listening to this has a story to tell. So read the submission guidelines and the publishing terms, publisher's terms. Those should have been picked up. They were in the boxes several days ago in the mail rooms. And I want to read from you from our journal. Before this was conceived, or when it was conceived, we wrote a journal policy, and I think this is important, and you'll read it again. But the journal shall be copyrighted by the Westminster Residents Association, but each individual member or individual writer shall retain the rights to their own works. No works of political advocacy or of a sectarian religious nature shall be accepted. Common decency by current community standards shall be observed. Now, the only reason I can think of why you might not, your submission might not be in the journal in November is because if we have a problem with time, a problem with space. If they're like, for instance, memoirs is a big category. And if we have too many and not enough to represent a good balance, then we would publish you in a later issue, and you'll be apprised of that. So after reading the guide, and be sure and do that, because that'll give you a lot more information, like word limits for all the categories. And but if there's still questions, you certainly may email me, and I'm going to give you my email. It's carolsykes@gmail.com. And be sure to put the E on Carol, or it won't reach me. CarolSikes@gmail.com. So I will contact you if you'll give me how you want to be contacted. And I want to say happy writing and have fun. And remember that the deadline is August 25th. So bye for now.
I believe it's August 15th, Carol. I believe it's August 15th.
You're right. Oh, yes. Okay, that gives you mine. I gave you 10 more days. Okay, August 15th.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Carol. Those of us who worked on the spring edition really found it to be a great, a lot of fun to do. And we've really enjoyed working with the writers. And there's so many people here, as Carol says, who have stories to tell. And now is the time to see your story in print. So we encourage you to submit your work. Moving along, the big news at Westminster this week is the Carlisle groundbreaking. And we have with us here today Chuck Borst, our executive director, who's going to discuss the groundbreaking and what will be happening next. So how's it going, Chuck?
Going pretty well. Thank you, Boyd. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. COVID-19, just to give you all an update, since this all began, we've had 4 residents that have tested positive. 3 of those residents have been fully recovered. 1 resident currently recovering with light symptoms in their apartment. We've had 8 associates tested positive and all have recovered. And we've done about 500, a little more than 500 tests have been administered since this began at Westminster. Everybody, I think, is aware, I've talked about it in my chats, that we are doing an analysis on the county, the state, and our community performance that allows us to move through phases of reopening. And we're currently in phase 1. The state and county, if you've been paying attention to the news, is really trending up right now. I'm going to show you a couple slides that'll show you where we're at as of the 26th. The intent for each of the reopening phases was to last about 4 to 6 weeks. Unfortunately, we will not move into the next phase through at least July and August. We'll stay in phase 1 through July and August, most likely due to the cases we have going on. What does reopening phase 1 mean? Staff-led and resident-led activities of 10 or less are okay with social distancing and mask in place. The amenities are open with social distancing and mask in place. Small group meetings of residents are okay, no more than 10. Social distancing and mask in place. Limited outside visitation at assigned areas from spouses, partners, significant others. So some of your children, power of attorneys are allowed with scheduled appointments, only 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And those visits are limited to 1-hour visits with mask and social distancing and limit of 1 per week. Healthcare center is still closed to visitors except for end of life and resident wellness. And that is not just a Westminster rule. That's the governor of Texas mandate, and also the Centers for Medicare Services have mandated that as well. Carry out is currently available in the Laurel dining room. We're slowly expanding the menu as we're able, and there's a carry out menu specifically available. Housekeeping services now include bathrooms, kitchen, and bed linen changes. This is a graph showing the results in Texas of new cases. You can see that we've had a huge spike in the last couple weeks. This doesn't bode well for us in reopening into a further phase. And the cumulative cases in Texas is about 153,000. So, we're really having a spike. We need to be more diligent than ever at Westminster to stick to the precautions and the restrictions that we currently have in place. I know it's rough, but it's really best for everybody. Speaking of maintaining those restrictions, I wanted to show you this slide. I've seen a lot of people struggling with figuring out how to wear a mask properly. Certainly, they're not meant to protect your chin. They really need to be over your nose and your mouth like this. This is the best way. This is what you're supposed to do. When you remove it, make sure that you're touching the ear loops only and not the front of the mask. If it's a reusable mask, it needs to be washed and then reused. But please don't lower it below your nose. Don't wear it just over your mouth. Don't wear it just over your nose. Wear it over your mouth and nose. And don't worry about removing it so you can talk to us. I hear a lot of our associates want me to remind residents not to remove the mask so that you can talk to us. We can hear you through the mask. So let's just do our best to wear the mask properly and wear it every time you're outside of your apartment or when housekeeping services is in your apartment. Dining services wanted me to send along an update. The 4th of July, they're going to be serving watermelon sangrias. Sounds pretty good. Grilling burgers and hot dogs. They also have a pickup menu that they wanted me to talk about, which I mentioned earlier. And they're doing an ice cream unsocial where they will deliver assorted treats one day in July, and that's to be determined. We're also going to have Kona Ice, which we do every year in July on the 28th. And this will be for residents and associates to pick up a snow cone in front of the entrances, both on the Windsor and the Preston entrance. And you will need to be social distant and wear your mask except when you're eating your snow cone, because you can't eat a snow cone through the mask. Just pick it up and you can go back to your apartment and enjoy it, or to another common space and enjoy it. Weekly cocktails are being provided by the Dining Services Department, and a video on 1890 of how to make them. So follow along with that. That's pretty neat. And fill out your menu. Just remember to fill out your menu that are being delivered to you weekly. Projects that are going on, we have quite a few. The Preston Interior Window Project. We're finished with about 140 apartments. We have about 114 apartments left to go in the Preston. We have been restricting it to just a few of the limited contractors, so a crew of 4. And then Sensational Solutions is still yet to install the interior film. So they're doing as much of the work now as possible to get ready for the solar film. And then they should be installing solar film around the end of this month, early next month. Painting and wall work has been completed in the lobby and the dining room. If you haven't stopped by to see it, the Preston dining room or the lobby, please do so. It looks really nice, very large. I think it's going to really look awesome with the new furniture and artwork that's being installed. Everything has been ordered. There's a 6 to 8 weeks lead time on furniture, the light fixtures, the flooring, and everything. So it's coming. Just be patient. The Carlisle expansion. We ended up closing on the Carlisle expansion. This was not a bond deal, so you didn't hear anything about us selling bonds. Typically, if it was a bond deal, we would offer those bonds to residents. We didn't do that this time. It was an all bank deal. We did achieve 2.324%, which is an awesome interest rate. We will look for opportunities for tax exempt bond financing in the future. So, you know, this current loan that we have is for 12 years and likely will refinance sometime in that 12 years when bond rates come down and it's attractive for us. The construction fence was installed on June the 29th, and we began the off-site parking. That's really going very well. The shuttle service, it helps to think about the shuttle service compared to riding a school bus when you're a child. So when you compare it to that, it doesn't seem nearly as bad. It's air conditioned, it's comfortable seats, we have great drivers. It is an inconvenience, but we're all working through it. I've ridden the bus for the last 3 days, and it's actually gotten me to work early. So proud of everybody for their efforts in moving all the cars and getting that ready. We did do a virtual groundbreaking today. It was the first of its kind that I'm aware of. It was a presentation on the Carlisle. All of our consultants were on the line, as many as We also had many board members on the call. We will be playing it on 1890 very soon. And we'll also post a link on the resident portal, and we'll have it on the website. There's also going to be webcams monitoring the construction project. Those will be available to you. We'll put them on the website. They're public facing, so anybody can click on and watch the construction and in real time. And then we'll also be taking pictures along the way so that we can memorialize it. Just to give you an idea, I think we talked about it a lot, but the construction of the Windsor infill, which is at the left-hand picture here, right here. And then we have the Carlisle to the north of the Windsor building. And then as we go through this, you should see by the end of the year, this will happen. So they will dig into the dirt in this area, and then they'll start to come up with a parking structure underneath the tower building that will be put in this location. And then the Carlisle will be, once the connections are made and this water line is protected, they'll start to dig this hole, which is 40 feet deep for the underground parking. And then as they come up, this will be the summer, or I should say spring of next year, all of that will be topped out. And then by summer, they'll have facade and everything will be completed, ideally, by the end of next year. And then the Carlisle building, you'll start to see rise up out of the ground, parking structure first, and then it will turn into this. This will be completed at the end of next year. And then this will be looking at, it'll be topped out at the end of next year. And then it'll be finished December of 2022, if everything works according to schedule, which we're really good at working better than the schedule. So hopefully we'll do that again on this project. Everybody knows, I think, what the campus brings us when it's finished. When this expansion is finished, you can see the connection here for the Windsor building, and then that we do get this bridge between the Carlisle and Windsor building, and a bridge that we haven't talked about a lot, but will be included in this first phase of construction, is this bridge that goes along the back side of the bistro kitchen and will provide direct access between the Preston building and the swimming pool, shortening that kind of jaunt around. This is what it looks like when we're finished. To give you an idea of some changes that took place in this first phase, we were not going to work on this section of the parking lot, the circle drive in front of the Windsor at the beginning of the project. We were actually going to do this work at the end. But what happened was when they were doing their discovery, they discovered a water line that we need to maintain that's actually in the way of our hole. So we need to move that water line. Because we're moving that water line, we're going to need to work and tear this area up. And when we do, we might as well put in the parking that we were supposed to achieve at the end of the project. So there's about 12 additional parking spaces that are going to be located north of the healthcare center when this first phase of construction, which should last about 8 weeks, will be completed. During the project, during the first phase, we will maintain this single one-way lane all the way around the campus, and there'll be a driving out here while the construction takes place in this area. You'll notice that we moved all of the drop-offs for shuttle to our new marketing drive and entrance. And that's our primary lobby for healthcare right now. We moved the folks that work in healthcare lobby to this location to work there. And it's working out pretty well, but all the screening, all the associate drop-offs occur there now. Again, that's the first 8 weeks. We'll talk about further phases as we go along. I'll try to keep you updated in my chats. and provide you some timelines. I'm pretty pleased that we're going to get that additional parking because I think it'll be dedicated for visitors to healthcare primarily, and that'll help us out. We on the back side of the building, which I didn't talk a lot about, but there is a relocation of the transformer and generator that are up here, and they'll be located at the north end of the project. And that's something we have to do before we can start the Windsor Tower expansion. And there's just a picture of what we'll get at the end of the project so you can see all the parking here. Right now, or the next few days, they will be preparing for the demolition of this area, which is where the Windsor expansion tower goes. And they'll be putting a construction fence in the Windsor courtyard, and it'll align with this sidewalk coming out of the bistro. Residents will have access still to all of this green area. So we'll still be able to use the bistro doors and enter into and out of healthcare and all enjoy this courtyard. And then in the later phases, this access will have to move across the courtyard for a limited time while they do some work there. Parking and entrance changes we talked about already, but so the Windsor North Lobby has closed and it will remain closed for the next 8 weeks. The marketing entrance is the primary and only entrance to the Windsor building. So that's the new lobby. The healthcare center and assisted living need to go through there. We have very limited visitors to healthcare and assisted living, as you well know. Associate and visitor overflow parking has started at the State Supported Living Center on 35th Street. There should be no reason that a resident needs to park there. We thought we had some residents with secondary vehicles that might need to, but they've all been accommodated at this point. Nobody's had to park over at the State Supported Living Center for resident parking. And then we're running a shuttle, basically to continuous trips every 15 to 20 minutes. And it's going really well. This is just an idea of, I think I've showed this slide before. It takes about 10 minutes to get to our parking lot and then 10 minutes to get back. So it is about a 20-minute travel time. Please be understanding and patient as we pick up our associates and move them between the campuses, and then also try to fit your needs, your mobility needs into those round trips as well. Lastly, I believe I wanted to talk about our first Alzheimer's Texas event, this is our kickoff event, and it's called Light Up for Hope. So what this basically is you're able to make a donation to Alzheimer's Texas, and you can pick up a luminaria bag or mini if you like, and then there'll be, you'll write a thought or somebody's name on it that you wish to and memorialize, and it's a $10 donation, and you can write those things, bring your bag to the receptionist by July the 13th, and then all of the luminaria bags will line both of our courtyards the night of July the 15th, and all monies raised will start our fundraising for Alzheimer's. Please keep in mind, if you participate in the events and you enjoy the music that's available and the entertainment and the light refreshments, that you do need to wear your mask and maintain social distance. Thank you very much. And that's all I have, Mr. Taylor.
Well, thank you very much, Chuck. And to all you residents who joined us tonight, we really are happy that you were able to. I hope you enjoyed the meeting. I want to thank Mary Bowles, Carol Sykes, Judy and Roger Iverson for participating, and of course, Chuck. We'll be seeing you around the campus. Stay well, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.